we need to be loud here. Here we go. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dented. Heat was in the very sod, which the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian men, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, ye who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing.
Oh, that's so nice, isn't it, Bob? Just makes me feel so Christmassy to have carolers at the door. Do you think they'll sing another one?
I don't think so, Evelyn. I told them all to go away.
You what? Well, why did you do that?
I told them to go home and get ready for the end, December 21st. Just 5 more days till the end of the world. They should spend their final days taking stock of themselves.
Oh, now, Bob, why on earth would you want to go and upset a lot of folks like that?
Evelyn, the Mayans predicted it. This Friday, December 21st. It'll all be over soon.
Okay, Bob, just think about this a minute. If they were that great at predicting things, why didn't they see the end of their own civilization?
Well, Evelyn, I've made some pretty bad choices over the years.
What? What made you think of that?
Well, with only a week to go, I started thinking about how much I wish I'd made better choices in my life, you know? Remember that time I invested a bunch of money in that new belt for women? The measuring tape belt?
Well, Bob, I mean, really, women just don't want to advertise their waist size. And the fact that it only came in bright yellow, I mean...
But remember the streaking incident? I mean, running into your parents? Who would have thought they'd be at that football game? And what about the time I bought stock in Coca-Cola? You know, right before the new Coke debacle?
Well, Bob, who knew that Coke would make such a great comeback? It was reasonable to sell as the stock was plummeting.
Well, or the "this is going to make us millions" amphibian car?
Oh, Bob, come on. Now, you did have some great ideas, too.
Yeah, right. I thought it would be a good idea to start selling fast food and groceries at gas stations. Call them convenience stores. No one wants to mix dinner and diesel, you said. Well, I should have invested, obviously. Or that little computer company that we were invited to invest in early on. But then I thought, who wants a computer named after a fruit?
Well, yeah, you should have gone for that one. But you did come up with the idea of a wraparound blanket that had feet and a hoodie and...
Yeah, wasn't that a great idea? And then I talked myself out of it, you know, but I thought, who would wear something so ridiculous looking? Now they're practically a fashion statement. Snuggies.
Oh, Bob, come on now. Everybody makes bad choices and misses opportunities now and then. You've still got time to make some good ones, though.
No, not much time, Evelyn. Not according to the Mayans. But I'm not taking chances this time. I got online and ordered a Mayan Apocalypse Survival Kit.
What?
That's right. I found it at a Russian Army surplus site. It comes complete with freeze-dried food for 2 months, an expensive and extensive first aid kit, a gas mask, and a bottle of Smirnoff.
Well, that's nice, Bob. But listen, with the Christmas shopping rush, it probably won't get here till after the 21st.
Oh, no.
Oh, Bob, come on now. I think you could use a little eggnog. You're worrying yourself into a frenzy and missing the whole point of Christmas. It's never too late to start doing the right thing, even if you've only got 5 days left. The choices we make today can make a difference to our tomorrow. And eggnog is just the thing to give you that lift to start with a new outlook on life.
Well, maybe you're right.
It has mellowing agents and antioxidants, and that's always a good choice.
These are the good times, times of Christmas near, gathering friends around us, relatives and good cheer. Advent is flowing, like eggnog on Santa's beard. Advent.
So we are going to talk about the spirits of Christmas to come here in just a moment, but just to kind of set you up for this whole idea of kind of where are we going with this end of the world thing. This is a little clip we found. It's a trailer for a movie that came out not too long ago called Looking for a Friend or Seeking a Friend at the End of the World. That's not it. There we go.
The final mission to save mankind has failed.
The 70-mile-wide asteroid known as Matilda
Is set to collide with Earth in exactly 3 weeks' time, and we'll be bringing you our countdown to the end of days, along with all your classic rock favorites.
So feel free to wear your casual Friday clothing pretty much any day of the week. And if anyone wants to be CFO. Anyone?
So, what are you doing with the rest of your life?
Catching up on some me time, find God, maybe move around some chairs.
Maybe I'll run into your...
That sounds nice. Listen, Elsa, you don't have to come next week or ever if you don't want to. It's okay.
You fighting me?
There's just no need. Forget it.
See you next week, Mr. Dutch.
I regret my entire life.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye now.
We should set up Dodge with Karen, don't you think?
It's everything I never wore.
The sky is falling. I've been with a different girl every day. You don't care about diseases. Are you gonna call them back? Or are you related, you know?
No, I don't.
You don't?
Hello? You okay?
I'm never gonna see my family again.
Would you like to come in?
I won't steal anything if you don't kill me.
Agreed.
Who's the girl? She the one that got away?
Well, they all got away, but she was the first, yeah.
Let's go find her.
We need to go, right now. If you drive me to where I need to go, I can get you to your family. Luckily, I'm getting my midlife crisis in just under the wire.
Hi, welcome to Frenzy's, where everyone's your friend.
I believe you guys are still open.
And do you know what? It's his birthday today.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah, we should go.
You can't be serious.
How fast are you going?
15 miles an hour of the speed limit.
Given the... Couldn't you find it in your heart to give my friend here a fighting chance of being with the one he loves before we all reach our untimely conclusion?
No.
It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane, listen to yourself, churn. World serves its own needs, don't concern your own need. Beat it up and knock speed, grunt, no streak, no ladder, structure, clatter with the fear, bite down, pain. Wire and the fire represent the 7 games in the government for hire, the combat side. Let's do what's coming in a hurry with the furies breathing down your neck. My team reporters baffle Trump, tell the cop, look at that low plane. Fine, then, overblow, population common group, but it'll do. Save yourself, serve yourself, it serves its own needs, sister to your heartbeat. Tell me when the rapture and the reverend and the right. Patriotic, stand by, bright light, feeling, pity sight. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. 6 o'clock TV hour, don't get caught in foreign tower. Slash your burn, big turn, listen to yourself churn. Locking in a uniform, look burning, blood blending. Every motor escalate, automotive incinerate. Light a candle, light a motor, step down. Watch a heel crush, no fear, cavalier, vindicated, steer clear. A tournament of lies. Offer me solutions, offer me alternatives, and I decline. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end. as we know it, I feel fine. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. The other night I tripped a nice kind of little drifted by Mount St. Air. Like Leonard Bernstein, Leonard Brezhnev, Lenny Bruce and Lester Bass. Without the cheesecake, jelly bean, boom. Symbiotic, patriotic, slam back, nat. Right? Right. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine.
So, we've been talking for a while about the idea that maybe the Mayans had it right. I mean, we started talking about this back in the summer in here. Maybe the Mayans had something figured out. Maybe there's a reason why their calendar ran out. Maybe it's not that Matilda, the giant asteroid, is coming, though, you know, one day, probably. But for now, the question is, what is it that kind of about that whole idea that stirs us? The whole idea of some kind of end of days. You know, there's always a prophet talking about, this is your last chance. I've been hearing it since I was a kid. Haven't you? You know, there's always somebody trying to say it's almost over. And you know, we kind of get numb to some of that sometimes, but I really, and that probably wisely, but I sometimes wonder if it isn't important not to. In other words, there's a certain sense in which, even in the story of Scrooge that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, what is it that really kind of becomes a part of the transformation of his life, where he begins to want to keep Christmas every day? It's facing his mortality, facing that he is not going to be here forever. Whether that happens 5 days from now, or 5 years from now, or 50 years from now, or 500 years from now, if you somehow get involved with cryogenics. It's going to happen to you too. So what are we doing with our lives? That's the question posed by mortality, isn't it? It's that thing that calls us up short. It called Scrooge up short when the ghost of Christmas to come took him on a tour of where things were headed in his life and in the lives of the people whom he had within, you know, his circle. I wouldn't call them circle of friends, but the people around him. And when he sees that Tiny Tim is gone, and when he sees that his demise leaves no one grieving, he begins to think twice about his life. He begins to long for Christmas. He begins to want to celebrate it every day. because this is the only day I have to celebrate love and to live in that love. This is the only day, this moment. Something about that we need to hear, isn't it? Don't we need that reminder? Maybe the Mayans did it as a big joke. They probably thought, about 2012, people are going to start thinking they'll live forever. Let's just kind of put something out there to remind them. Think about it. Think about it. How are you living out of love right now? I'm going to tell you, this has been a hard weekend for a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people who are in a lot of grief and a lot of hurt because they can't fathom the kind of thing that happened in Connecticut. Kindergartners, these young children, they can't fathom what the families must be going through. And yet, at the same time, we recognize that families go through that kind of stuff all the time. This just is filling the news right now because it's an unusual event. But families and people go through that kind of pain and suffering every hour of every day, somewhere in the world. Our hearts break right now for these families. But what about all the other families? What about all the other families who had losses the same day? Some other part of the world. It's important to me to not just be about grief, not just be about connecting to the hurt and pain of the world around us and caring for that and feeling a calling in that, but to act on that calling, to do something about it. And, in our experience as a community right here, right now, we're trying to do something about it. We've got people who are leading groups. We're doing these Roots of Change groups, and people are learning about some things about emotion and emotional intelligence that can make a difference in helping us be able to notice when someone is in a place where they might be turning into that kind of dangerous person. The very stuff that we're teaching in the Roots of Change groups, we're trying to also get into the schools. And we had meetings just in the last couple of months with Fort Worth ISD and Grapevine, Colleyville ISD. I mean, this place is full of people in this room who are dedicated to making that kind of difference. And no, it's not a church effort. There's a lot of us in here who are connected to it, supporting it, making it happen. Because we believe it's not enough to think about change. It's not enough to care if we're not trying to be the light, trying to make a difference, trying to do something. Because today is the only day. This is the time to connect to that, to connect in love to that. When I think about what happened in Connecticut, I think about what's been a part of presentations that I have given in different places over the last few years, sometimes for businesses. I was just up at George Washington University a couple of weeks ago presenting to a bunch of people and talking about how, what we're learning is that motivation in human beings is very, very emotionally driven. You know that, don't you? That what we experience emotionally overrides what we're thinking very often. It informs and directs what we're thinking very often. But this is new to the world. This is new knowledge we're starting to understand. And it's a deeply spiritual thing to begin to recognize the gift of what we feel and how it can become really messed up. I talk about, in some of these presentations, how we see patterns in people's lives of emotional damming or emotional flooding or whirlpooling. And that in those kinds of patterns in their lives, you recognize these become just automatic to them. We don't recognize that we are damming up emotionally. We don't recognize that we tend to flood. And I notice in so many situations where you'll have a parent who's their pattern is to flood. And guess what their kid does? Their kid learns to damn emotionally. Our schools are really pretty good at picking up on emotional flooding and the kids that are acting out and stuff. But they're not very good at picking up on the damning. Those kids aren't as obvious. They're harder to spot. We let them through. They find their way into society, struggle. And sometimes, as we're seeing over and over again, especially with young men in their 20s, the lack of capacity to know what to do with intense emotional aspects, to have not learned any way of managing that, may well be a big part of what creates disaster for all of us. We have knowledge. We even have programs going on in schools across the country right now that are showing incredible capacity to help make these things different. And I want you to know that we're right here connected to making those efforts happen. In schools, in churches, wherever we can help people gain some new understanding of what creates some of these kinds of things. Your plugging into that is one way that you make a difference in this community and beyond. But personally, for each of us, I have to say, maybe the idea that there's something coming. There's some change coming. There's something that's going to happen that's going to change the world as we know it. That will mean that what we really need is a totally new calendar, because the way we were before this new change that's coming won't even compare to life on the planet afterwards. I think we have a choice. I think we're facing a choice in our world. I think we've got to decide where we're going to get our sense of security, for instance. Are we going to get our sense of security from barbed wire, from the defensive ways in which we feel a sense that we have to protect ourselves? Are we going to let the world become more and more and more dangerous and protected in that way? Or do we invest our lives and energy with faith and hope in the possibility that we can invite people to a more complete, whole sense of life, that through learning new ways of building connection between us, that we find our sense of security that way? I think we're facing that choice in our world. We've invested for decades and decades in the technology for war, but we haven't made a smidgen of that same kind of investment in the technology for peace. We are going to be defined by these choices, both as a race of the human race. We're going to be defined by it. We're going to be defined by it individually as well. We will live our lives with a sense of fear, or we will live a sense of love. We can certainly never deny that there are scary things in the world, but the choice is ours to make. And I want to put it to you, if you only had 5 days, what would the choice you make be? To surround yourself defensively, or to try to figure out how to care and love and connect with the people in your life? Would you want to spend the last days just trying to party it up big and have your midlife crisis even if you're 25? Or would you want to make life something much more about love and connection and caring, and try to figure out what it really means to be a human being and to live in community in that way? I believe there's hope. You see, I believe there's a possibility that December 21st might just be the end of some bad days, because so many people began to say, it's time for something new. It's time that we began to learn the lessons that we haven't learned. And we can't wait. Now's the time. We're hearing a calling, aren't we? All of us? Aren't we all hearing a calling? Are you feeling a calling? Can I get a witness? Are we feeling a calling? Are we going to do something? Amen. Okay.
Let's all stand. We'll sing Love Came Down at Christmas. If you have an offering, bring it forward as we're singing. Here we go. Came down at Christmas. Love, a lovely, love divine. Love was born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave a sign. Love came down at Christmas. Love, a lovely, love divine. Love was born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave the sign. Love shall be our token. Love be yours and love be mine. Love from God to all of us. Love for plea and gift a sign. Love came down at Christmas. Love, a lovely, love divine. Love is born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave the sign. Stars and angels gave the sign.
I just have a couple of quick announcements. I want to tell you that this Friday night, of course, we're doing our solstice celebration. Glenn Velez, Lori Kotler, and the Communists will be here, along with a drum circle, labyrinth walk that Lynn Deloney will be leading across the street. But in this area, in this room, we'll have 100 drums. We'll just drum. And you want to, like, work out your angst on the solstice? Come drum. It's perfect. And then we'll have this concert with some of the most, with some amazing artists. And Tom and Brad and I will be there too. And so, and Doxy's going to play in with us. It's going to be great. And you can sign up for that today. We're going to have food, so it helps us to know if you're coming. And so if you're planning on coming, be sure to sign up the sign-up sheet that's in the back, that's being held up by my lovely assistant, Mary Ann. And you have an announcement.
Real quickly, the labyrinth he mentioned for Friday is walking prayer path that we set out here as well. Way of being present to the moment, listen to the deeper questions, which Charles was referring to. But if you're kind of concerned about Friday, not sure that 5:30 will make it, it's also here Wednesday. Seriously, we'll have the labyrinth out here from 12:30 until 9 at night. So a lot of opportunity to come by and listen.
Good. It's a wonderful meditation to do, and this time of year, don't we all need a little time to just kind of be still and get that centered place? Wherever you are in your life, I just want to say, celebrate the temporary. Celebrate what's here now. So we had a couple of new members that joined recently. I was just looking to see if they're with us now. It looks like not. So we'll celebrate them the next time. Why don't we take each other's hands and we'll say a prayer. Holy One, in the steps that we take as we walk from this place, may we measure those steps with a sense of the presence of love. In the eyes that we look into the faces of others, may we have the eyes of wisdom to see others struggling just like us to find their way, even when they're angry or hurt. Holy One, as we walk from this place, give us the hands to be able to heal, the voice to speak the soothing word, the ears to listen. This is our prayer. Amen.
That's greed, it starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane. Lenny Bruce is not afraid.
Eye of a hurricane, listen to yourself churn. World serves its own needs, don't deserve your own need. Front, no strength, no.
Fire and a fire represent the 7 games in the government for hire and a comeback. You what's a coming and hurry with the furies breathing down your neck. Team by team reporters bevel jump to the cup. Look at that low plane. Fine, there, upload, overflow, population, comma, group of different. Save yourself, world serves its own needs. Listen to your heart. Tell me about the rapture and the reverend and the right. Patriotic slam by bright light, feeling pretty sight.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. 6 o'clock TV hour, don't get caught in foreign tower. Slash and burn, return, listen to yourself turn. Lock him in uniform, book burning, blood letting. Every motive escalate, automotive centering. Light a candle, line a motor, step down. Watch a heel crush, oh, this means no fear. Cavalier, renegade, stare clear.
A tournament of lies. Offer me solutions, offer me alternatives, and I decline.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. But I feel fine.
Feel fine.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel.
The other night I tripped a nice Continental 55 Mount singing Hill Light. Leonard Bernstein, Leonard Fresh, Lenny Bruce and Lester Banks, birthday traffic, taste cake, jelly bean, boom. Symbiotic, patriotic, slam by neck, right?
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine.
explosive thing at the end?
Yeah.
Is that what that was?